Diddy woke up this morning inside the Metropolitan Detention Center in Brooklyn. The federal jail has been called, quote, hell on earth.
He can't go into a regular housing unit because somebody will take him out for sure.
Diddy's attorney revealing the worst thing about jail for the rapper. According to People magazine, his lawyer said, quote, I think the food's probably the roughest part of it.
I would expect that he would not be in the general population. His incredibly high celebrity status makes him a very, very attractive target for.
One of the biggest hip-hop moguls is now confined in what has been described as hell on earth, denied power, and forced to live under constant observation. This isn't a movie. This is how Diddy's life is right now.
After a judge denied his request for bail a second time, and the place where he's locked up now getting a lot of attention. The Metropolitan Detention Center, the only federal jail in New York City, is known for violence, poor conditions, and a string of celebrity detainees. And Diddy's attorneys want him out. NBC News' Yasmin Youssein has more.
Sean Diddy Combs, who pleaded not guilty to charges of sex trafficking and racketeering, is now being held without bail in the Metropolitan Detention Center. The facility has been described as a hell on earth, where chaos reigns in his $48 million Miami mansion.
Combs abused, threatened, and coerced victims to fulfill his sexual desires, protect his reputation, and conceal his conduct.
He is by no means the first well-known inmate to be admitted to these institutions. Pharma bro R. Kelly, Martin Shkreli, Ghislaine Maxwell, and cryptocurrency scammer Sam Bankman-Fried. While they awaited their federal criminal charges, all of them resided in this jail. From the atmosphere at the prison is anything from comfortable. Famous for being, as one judge put it, dreadfulsome bench members are even less likely to send non-violent criminals there. Inmates who were allegedly part of the MS-13 gang attacked another prisoner 44 times in an April filmed incident. Following the attack, 2 shivs were discovered. You may view them here. The victim survived. In the last 3 years alone, 4 inmates have also taken their own lives. Furthermore, violence is not the only issue. Claims of medical abuse, staffing shortages, and drug smuggling, some of which were allegedly aided by employees. In the last 5 years, at least 6 workers have faced criminal charges, the AP reports. Some are accused of accepting bribes and providing illicit products.
I've had clients describe MDC as hell, as the worst conditions they've been in.
Lance A. Clark, a federal defense attorney, has gone there many times.
Now, if the government is going to mandate that they are responsible for your well-being, they have to ensure the safety of your well-being.
Occupy the streets until they get heat!
During the winter of 2019, inmates protested a power outage and were held without light or heat for a week.
Understand how cold it must be in those cells, and not to have any electricity, any lights, and to not be able to communicate with your family is just inhumane.
With more than 1,200 detainees, it is the only federal jail in the nation's largest city. The second federal jail in New York City, the Metropolitan Correctional Center, was shut down by the DOJ in 2021, 2 years after Jeffrey Epstein's death. What happens when a well-known individual used to luxury and fortune gets imprisoned in one of the most notorious prisons in the country? How does Sean Diddy Combs, the man who made his fortune in the public eye, handle his time behind bars? Thanks to leaked material that reveals horrifying details of his everyday life, we're exploring the harsh conditions inside Brooklyn's Metropolitan Detention Center, a facility infamous for housing well-known individuals like Jeffrey Epstein and R. Kelly, but also condemned for its terrible treatment of prisoners.
Diddy woke up this morning inside the Metropolitan Detention Center in Brooklyn. The federal jail has been called, quote, hell on earth.
Some of the shocking things that you see are the manufacturing of assaults. Inmates hid cell phones within their rectal cavity. Jails and prisons are very different from free society.
We spoke with Cameron Lindsay, the former warden of Diddy's jail. The facility accommodates around 1,200 detainees and once housed R. Kelly and Jeffrey Epstein's accused co-conspirator, Ghislaine Maxwell.
I survived what I've been through.
I would expect that he would not be in the general population. His incredibly high celebrity status makes him a very, very attractive target for assault. He would be locked in that cell 20 hours a day, 3 showers a week. My advice would be keep quiet, keep to yourself. It has to be more of a culture shock.
A rep for the Federal Bureau of Prisons tells ET that earlier this year, they appointed an urgent action team to address issues. It's their mission to operate safe, secure, and humane facilities.
A complex picture is painted by conflicting reports about Diddy's time in jail, which range from daily mental check-ins to assertions of preferential treatment. However, one question still remains as we get more knowledge. Has his fame made his experience worse? Or does it shield him from the horrors of MDC?
I want to bring in Larry LaVine. He is a former federal prisoner who served time at 11 institutions of various security levels in 5 different states, and he now advises people who are about to go to prison. As the founder and director of Wall Street Prison Consultants. And of course, he's a friend of the show. So breaking news right now, Larry, I am just getting word. People magazine says it's got a source on the inside that tells them that P. Diddy's on suicide watch tonight. Do your sources confer the same information? Are they saying it was possible?
Hey, real quickly, all that commissary stuff, he's not getting any of that because people should have an abbreviated list. So he's out of luck. No stake for him. Yeah, he is on suicide watch. This guy thought he would have went home. All of a sudden, he didn't get bond. Remember, the first night that he was there, he was like an overnight guest. When they told his bond hearing, now they checked him into the system, and reality has hit him. And I understand that he has a shrink coming by his cell to see him several times a day. And now there's talk about putting him in, it's like a bubble. It's like a cell that has like a plexiglass wall in it where they have inmates watching you. That's actually their job, to keep an eye on the inmates that are on suicide watch. Another error that I guess some warden told you this. There are sentenced inmates there. They're called cadre inmates. They don't have to be white collar inmates, but they're doing maintenance on the building. And the problem why there's a lot of violence there, they have housing units. And they're mixing bank robbers, drug dealers, rapists with collar people. And this is why Diddy, he can't go into a regular house because somebody will take him out for sure. Somebody's gonna get a lot of street credibility out of this. People that are doing substantial time that know ever getting out. They'll just kill the guy. No questions asked.
As the world watches Diddy's well-publicized case unfold, insiders begin to leak information, placing us squarely in the center of the action. Rumor has it that Diddy receives many visits from a psychiatric staff every day. Larry LaVine, a prison specialist, said in a recent interview that Diddy is not officially under side watch. LaVine's source, however, claims that he needs to undergo regular mental health assessments to monitor his progress in acclimating to life behind bars. Furthermore, these check-ins hint to the harsh reality of survival at an institution like MDC, even though they might sometimes appear comforting.
Director and founder of Wall Street Prison Consultants, Larry LaVine, joins me now. Larry, welcome to the show. Thanks for being with me.
Glad to be with you.
So this jail's conditions, have been described as dirty, notorious for mice, maggots, inmate violence, power outages. I mean, you spent 10 years in 11 different facilities, so you know what life is like for him right now. Take us behind the scenes.
I was also MDC Los Angeles. It's like a cookie cutter of the MDC in New York. So yeah, I do know. But he's sitting in the shoe. He's in the hole. And this guy is going through loneliness, anxiety, desperation. He's on suicide watch. And they hand out like psych meds, like they're M&Ms to these inmates to try to get them to cope with what's going on. So his entire existence is to sit in this little cell, essentially. He can shower 3 times a week. He's not getting any real visits. If his lawyer does a legal visit, they have to come upstairs into the special housing unit to see him. Now, have you seen these reports about all these commissary items they say that he could buy? Any of those?
What was one of them? Steak or something?
Ribeye, steak,
Yeah.
I mean, all kinds of nonsense. He's in the shoe, people. He's in a special housing unit. He cannot buy things off the regular commissary.
However, LaVine suggests that Diddy is receiving what would be seen as preferential treatment, such as extra showers, a perk that other inmates would not experience. However, don't let Diddy fool you into thinking he's enjoying himself. Far from his Miami home, he is now imprisoned in a tiny cell in a jail that is infamous for violent incidents, fatal fights, and dilapidated facilities. According to LaVine, he has never known anything like living here. Legal experts have, in fact, likened Diddy's new home to a battleground. The dangerous character of MDC Brooklyn, which is notorious for its violent outbursts, has come to light in the wake of recent prisoner homicides and stabbings. In short, LaVine is not a chess player, he is a survivalist.
Look, if he makes it to GP, general population, someone's going to stick a knife in him. They're going to put some bars of soap in a sock and boom, going to pop him over the head and split his head open like a watermelon. They cannot GP him at all. There's a better chance of Jesus appearing in front of us right now than him making general population. He's safe where he is at. There's no reason to move him. And this nonsense about him getting bail, they're never going to give him bail. He wants to go to Essex County, New Jersey, to go to a cushy jail there. Remember, he's not a federal inmate. He's a U.S. Marshal detainee. So they just house him at MDC. And in order to send him to Jersey, they would have to transport him back and forth several times a week with like 6 marshals. They put him in one car and there'd be a car behind him and a car in front of him. They're not going to do that. So his life essentially at this point is just screwed. And I don't see him ever getting out. And remember, he's fighting his case.
The Metropolitan Detention Center, or MDC Brooklyn, is mostly known to the public via news stories about criminal trials that go bad. Diddy's cell is more than just a room, it's a brutal, nude existence within walls that have seen a number of infamous prisoners and even more frightening secrets. As one judge put it, MDC is infamous for being a place where violence and misery tend to fester, in stark contrast to the luxurious lifestyle he is used to.
Which houses approximately 1,200 people, mostly those who are arrested and those who are awaiting trial, as well as those serving short sentences. This is a facility that has been plagued with issues: violence, deplorable conditions, not enough manpower, drug smuggling. In fact, earlier this year, New York Representative Dan Goldman stated he would file a formal request for an investigation into the MDC. He released a statement saying, quote, "Over the last 2 years, there have been steady reports of deteriorating conditions at MDC harming inmates and correctional officers alike, including chronic understaffing, perpetual solitary confinement, and widespread violence." And then he said how a federal judge earlier this year cited the prison system's dreadful condition as a reason not to remand a defendant to MDC. He said, quote, "Earlier this year, I toured MDC with the warden and executives from the Bureau of Prisons, all of whom acknowledged the improvements needed at the facility. Unfortunately, conditions have only gotten worse."
Crammed quarters, frequent lockdowns, and restricted access to basic facilities like exercise, outside activities, and bathing are all described as being gloomy.
We learned a local family had to make the tough decision to take a loved one off life support. The incidents that ultimately killed that man happened while he was an inmate at the Metropolitan Detention Center. He is the 5th MDC inmate, though, to die this year. That's 5 deaths in less than 6 months.
This year, 5 people have died while they were in Metro Detention Center.
It's sad to say that it's not surprising.
Albuquerque attorney Matt Coit, who's brought many lawsuits against MDC over 2 decades, says there are 2 long-running problems. One is inmates not getting the medical care they need.
Just think of all the people who didn't die, who didn't get medical care, who were released and their conditions have been exacerbated or unattended.
And Coit believes the correctional officers in charge of keeping everyone safe are often too violent.
The second distinct problem has been a culture of violence within the custody staff. Think of all of the people who suffer at the hands of a violent custodial staff on a daily or weekly basis.
In our research, many deaths over the last few years have been suicides, and many allegedly involve people who are going through drug withdrawal. Coit says every jail should be prepared to help inmates suffering from a drug addiction.
LaVine Diddy asserts that mental well-being is equally as important to life as physical restriction. Even though Diddy isn't formally on suicide watch, the frequent visits from the psych team show how much these circumstances are affecting him. This is where the psychological check-ins come in. The change from a world where he is in control to one where he is at the mercy of the system, and from a house to confinement in a metal box, is a profound shock to the body and mind, even in the harsh context of 1,600. Sources claim that Diddy stands out because of his notoriety. His confinement is in the SHU, or Special Housing Unit, which is akin to a jail within a prison and is often used for prisoners deemed to be dangerous to himself or others. Even the strongest brains may be broken by this kind of attention, which isn't necessarily a good thing. It can also mean complete solitude.
Tell you about prisoners being put into segregation at the Bernalillo County Jail, but we've never gotten to see what that looks like until tonight. Action 7 News reporter Regina Reese takes us on an exclusive and shows us where a man accused of shooting a cop is being held.
So Regina, this is the Segregation Intake 4 unit. This is where you house all inmates that are administrative segregation with a high classification.
Behind the doors of maximum classification segregation at the Metropolitan Detention Center. Maximum security for the inmates who are put in there. Inmates like Christopher Cook. He's charged with attempted murder after Albuquerque police say he shot one of their own, Officer Lou Gold, during a traffic stop.
There's 4 tiers to a pod in the maximum unit, in the cage area.
Each inmate is in a cell by himself. They get just 1 hour out of the cell each day to shower, use the and talk to other inmates. Only 1 inmate is allowed out at a time.
Typically, a lot of inmates do sleep. They do review legal material, mail. Typically like to read a lot too, and hopefully not cause disturbances while they're in custody.
Inmates in segregation have the option to spend an hour each outside, but they have to be in these enclosures, and they are in these by themselves. Some of those inmates, including Christopher Cook, wear these red high-risk jumpsuits.
Certain individuals that are high profile initially, they are a little more observed through checks to ensure their safety as well as the safety of staff.
And in dealing with these inmates, the jail says safety is an absolute must.
Diddy's jail provides a devastating family aspect in addition to the emotional and physical challenges, since his 7 children are all on the outside, still in shock over his arrest. According to family insiders, Diddy is more worried about his kids than about himself. He has reportedly spoken with his family over the phone a few times, but such precious exchanges are few and far between.
Less than a month after their father's arrest, the children of disgraced music producer Sean Diddy Combs are speaking out. In a joint statement posted to social media, 6 of the embattled music moguls rallied in support of their dad. The statement posted to Instagram by Combs' son Quincy Brown reads, quote, "The past month has devastated our family. Many have judged both him and us based on accusations, conspiracy theories, and false narratives that have spiraled into absurdity on. We stand united, supporting you every step of the way. We hold on to the truth, knowing it will prevail, and nothing will break the strength of our family. We miss you and love you, Dad." Combs' children, Justin Dior, Christian King, Chance, Delilah, and Jesse, were all listed as collaborators and tagged in.
Food is a fundamental need that most people take for granted, but in this instance, it's just one more thing that makes life in prison more difficult. Citing institutional policy and security protocols, MDC is resolute on keeping him on site, despite his attorney's demands for a change of venue, potentially even a shift to a facility in New Jersey. MDC is notorious for providing poor quality cuisine. In a recent remark, Diddy's attorney said that the food is perhaps the most challenging part of it. Although it's a little detail, it shows how drastically his life has altered.
Revealing the worst thing about jail for the rapper. According to People magazine, his lawyer said, quote, "I think the food's probably the roughest part of it."
The meal's supposed to be nutritionally balanced and edible. He would receive 3 meals per day. Very basic meal expectations.
Diddy's new diet going on more than 3 weeks behind bars. The New York Post reports he was served Swedish meatballs after pleading not guilty to his charges and racketeering.
He will have his meals delivered to him. He would not go to a dining hall in a high-rise like the MDC Brooklyn. The correctional officer on the unit delivers them to the detainee or the inmate.
Diddy's ordeal is a harsh reminder of the cost of freedom and goes beyond simple confinement. There are no true getaways in this hell on earth. It's unknown how he will manage the next months as his tale develops. As he awaits trial, Diddy, the former hip-hop mogul, faces an uncertain future in one of the worst prisons in the country. When you're a celebrity in a place like MDC, stories of preferential treatment and psychological check-ins may seem like little comforts, but they might be a lifeline, albeit a brittle one. Stuck in a system that doesn't give a damn about you, no matter who you are.